So I think we can get started and welcome everyone to today's webinar. We have an exciting topic to go through and to cover. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Emil. I'm the Director of Support here at Databox, and I'm joined by Rick Kranz from the AI Marketing Lab, and we'll be covering a very relevant and timely topic here, AI SEO, the new rules to get found in ChatGPT and AI search. Before we actually get started, I first wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping rules. So we have chat open. So if you have any questions, please ask them throughout the session. We'll have also a short Q&A set or time reserved for Q&A at the end of today's webinar. But I encourage everyone to ask questions throughout so that we can answer them as we are actually covering certain topics. I think that's going to be also most interesting for all of you listening and viewing here today. Also, if you have any technical issues, let us know in chat. So one of our colleagues is gonna make sure to step in and help you. And yeah, let's dive into the session. So first and foremost, I just wanted to give a quick intro to Databox, the company hosting really today's webinar. Databox is a business intelligence platform, and we help businesses centralize all of their data, and we integrate with hundreds of different integrations across different industries, all the way from, for example, marketing to sales to finance um, to paid socials to organic socials. There's a number of integrations you can choose from to then centralize everything in one place and really focus more on not only tracking performance, but actually making data-driven decisions off of that data and doing that faster. That's been usually a big struggle, or still is for a lot of companies, is that manual work of setup, of just getting everything into one place. And this is where Databox is really focused on ease of use to help you expedite the setup process so you can really only focus on the relevant data and the KPIs themselves. So Databox offers a number of different true business intelligence features and functionalities without the complicated setup that are relatively easy to use. And of course, we also have a team that helps support you in getting started. So if you're interested and want to check it out, feel free to go to databox.com to start your free trial. And to get started with today's topic, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm joined by Rick Kranz here today. I'm really excited for this session. And first, a bit about his company, the AI Marketing Lab. It's a build it live implementation community that's designed to help marketeers transition from AI theorists to true AI leaders. And it does that by empowering professionals to architect production-ready systems, such as the AIO content engine and also internal RAG applications that automate complex workflows and drive measurable business impact rather than really just executing manual campaigns. The community offers a systems, not tips approach that replaces static courses with weekly live engineering sessions and downloadable blueprints. All this allows members to bypass the steep technical learning curve and immediately deploy proprietary model-proof AI agents that secure their data and future-proof their careers. And also a bit about you, Rick Kranz, to allow me to introduce you. You're an applied, you're an applied AI strategist, a RevOps and HubSpot expert, a former Fortune 500 executive. So we got quite a rep there. And for 20 years, Rick has been at the forefront of sales and marketing evolution, all the way from pioneering inbound marketing as a HubSpot partner back in the days to mastering sales enablement. And his focus has always been on one thing, which is building systems that create predictable growth. And today he applies that same process-driven mindset to AI, helping small and medium-sized businesses move beyond short-lived tactics to build a lasting strategic advantage through intelligent automation and orchestration. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Rick, to get us started.
Yeah. Thanks, Emil. Thanks for that. I do have a bit of a long rap sheet, huh? So, welcome everyone. Thanks for attending. We currently all have this incredible window of opportunity for getting our content ranked and recommended by AI. And if you're nimble and take action now, you have the ability to take over traffic from your competitors. But this window is going to close fast, I think. It's not like the early days of the internet when blogging was just born. I mean, back then we had about 3 to 5 years to take advantage of that. I think maybe we have 6 months to take advantage of this major shift right now. And today I'm going to show you how to do this. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you some free tools also that we've created to help you move along this path. So first, I just want to check in with where we are and why we're here. And this is stuff you probably already know, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I'm only going to spend about 3 minutes on this. You might have seen your organic traffic dipping or plateauing, and that's because we are in the era of the zero-click search. And if your strategy is still 100% focused, I don't mean, partially focused, but if it's still 100% focused on getting someone to click a blue link to read a 2,000 word blog post, you're fighting a losing battle. Um, so, we need to understand why users are preferring AI. And I kind of like this metaphor as a chef and cooking metaphor. So, Google was an answer engine. It gave us a list of links, and we had to open those 10 tabs to figure it out. It gave us homework. It was DIY, do it yourself. It gives you a list of ingredients. AI is an action engine. So users can ask complex questions like, what is the best CRM for a small manufacturing company in the US? And AI synthesizes the answer. It basically cooks the meal for you. And it just doesn't find the information, it completes tasks. I remember for myself personally, when Perplexity was launched, I stopped using Google. I moved over to, and this is I don't know, it feels like ages ago when Perplexity was launched. It just seemed this is so much smarter to me. Like, oh, I can get answers instead of homework to do. Um, Another shift that has happened is what people are calling the quality over quantity shift. So with while the traffic volume might be lower, the value of the traffic is higher. Data is showing that users coming from AI, an AI recommendation is worth 4.4 times more than a standard Google search click. And this is because when someone asks ChatGPT for a recommendation, they're really already they're not in a browsing position. They're kind of like this in a deciding stage, right? So by the time they get to you, the AI has already vetted you. So they may not be completely pre-sold, but they're in the buying mode. So you're going to see traffic coming from AI to you're going to get better conversion rates from it typically. I don't know if it's going to be 4.4. I think that is an average, right? It's going to vary drastically between product, service, and industry. So I'm sharing this slide of ours. This is a data box, one of our data box dashboard slides showing the results we're getting. Just know that this is a brand new web domain. The AI Marketing Lab was launched less than a year ago. And we started this process that I'm going to share with you today in June, which is week 26 on this chart, if you can see the bottom numbers at the bottom. And by week 27, we started to see growth. So we went from zero AI visibility to getting daily mentions in traffic in our first month, and it just keeps growing. So this actually works. And I think what it shows here is, it's not necessarily about authority, domain authority anymore. Although that, for people who do have domain authority, that is going to really help them. It's more about specificity and owning those long tail queries. It's no longer search terms, it's queries, right? Going to share some more information here that nothing to brag about. So we ran HubSpot's AEO grading tool. And like I said, there's nothing here I would brag about, 6 out of 10. But it actually shows that we're making headway against our competitors, even though our domain is less than a year old. So you don't need to have, 20-year-old domain authority. I mean, we're making progress against established places. And even on our sentiment analysis for our brand, it's it's getting there. So I think it's pretty cool. Now I'm going to show you exactly how we're structuring the content and how you can structure your content to do this. And one thing I want to just go over touch first is the core concept of today's webinar. So to succeed now, you have to run two different content strategies simultaneously. So if you look at this chart here, lane two is for humans. When they finally land on your site, they're pretty much qualified if they're coming from AI search. So your site needs to be a conversion engine for them and not just an information dump like we've done in the past with websites. Lane one is for AI agents, and this is what we're focusing on today. This is content written specifically for machines. It's structured so that ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity can understand it, trust it, and cite it. And we're going to show you how we use machines to write for machines.
I think that's an important distinction here that with the introduction of LLMs and AI agents, it's not that they've replaced the traditional way of um, presenting your brand really online, but it's just another channel that is growing at a fast pace, to your earlier point, where it's important to leverage that correctly and really hop on that bandwagon as soon as possible, given the traction that you could be getting now as well as all of this is pretty much exploding.
Yes. And writing for machines doesn't preclude getting traditional traffic from Google search. Uh, our Google search traffic exploded way greater than the AI search traffic. Even though we're writing specifically for AI in this very structured format that I'm going to show you, our Google search traffic exploded. But I didn't bring that chart here because I just want to confuse the concept of what we're trying to do here. Okay, here's something that's I think important is really very important distinction. And I like this about writing for AI. If you use AI to write generic content that just repeats what's already on the web, you're going to be invisible. Because AI already knows that information. It's been trained on that information or it already has access to that. And that is something as SEO specialists or blog writers or whatever we did in our past life, we did a lot of that. We would rewrite stuff that already existed and actually we would get traffic from it from Google. You're not going to get traffic for that from AI. You must inject proprietary information or data. So like providing specific stats about your products, your services, your clients, and AI will then cite you as a source of truth. It's looking for new information. That's what it wants. It doesn't want what it already has. This Another thing about this proprietary knowledge strategy is you need to know your ideal customer profile, who you're writing for. And you need to know exactly what makes your product or services different from your competitors. Um, this means you got to do the hard work. You got to do the marketing work. And if you're doing this for your clients, it's a good opportunity to sell them a strategy session on who are you selling to and what are you selling and what are your differentiators? Because a lot of companies really don't have that figured out. They're really just too generic when it comes to that information. And you need to get very dialed in with that if you want to be successful with this. We create source documents for our products and services, as well as buyer personas, and then we feed these to our writing systems. So let's dive into an example here. So this is a system we have called the buyer's table. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it's very popular with marketing teams and marketing agencies. Now, when we start writing for this, we focus when we any of the writing we do now is focused on a specific product or service. We never write generic top of the funnel content. So let's jump into the tactics here of exactly what we do here. This is what I call the direct answer strategy. So when AI is scanning your content to answer a user's question, it doesn't want to read a 500-word intro about the history of blah, 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 or your story. It wants the answer. And if you remember, if you only take away one thing here, this will be very helpful and make a big difference. Just remember this, what I call the first 45 words rule. And I don't think I made that up. I probably stole it from someone else. Probably stole it from HubSpot. Um, You want to make the very first part of your post the answer to the query that you're writing the post about. So the section that's circled in green here is the answer to the query. Now, corollary to that is you may want to make the title of your post the question. That's what we do. We typically make the title of our posts the query that we think someone is going to ask. So this particular one ties into our buyers table, where we come up with 100 different ways we think someone will ask a question that would lead to our product, the buyer's table, being the answer or a good fit, right? And then we create posts around that. So can I have ChatGPT role play as buyers to critique my sales collateral? And then you give the answer. If you remember nothing else, do that. Right after that, we follow with a TLDR, which is a summary of the entire post. AI loves that. And that's really kind of how you're going to win the zero-click snippet, even with Google, right? Now, as far as the rest of the post goes, pretty much the golden rule is if humans can skim it, robots can read it. So if your blog post is a wall of text, the AI will often skip it, not always, but it will often skip it. So it's looking for structure to understand the hierarchy in which you published. And we found that content using clear H2 headers and bullets works really well. So remember here, again, we're writing for machines. So don't worry about, including your story format, which is kind of also my suggestion. If you're in the B2B space and you're trying to get executives to read your content, you probably drop the story format. Very different in B2C. I will read story formats in B2C. If I'm planning a trip, I'll definitely want to hear stories, right? It's different in B2B. If I'm shopping for a software, no, don't tell me your stories. Just want the facts. Another strategy that is good to use, and we use this sometimes, but not all the times because it's hard to execute. The best fit strategy. AI agents love data tables. They are the easiest thing for a machine to parse. So every single one of your pages or products could have a comparison table on it. And don't be afraid to list your competitors because if you don't, AI will define that for you. And you may not like the way it does it. You could also write best fit briefs. These are short articles that explicitly state who your product and service is for. Now, when you say write a comparison table, it doesn't mean you're better. You're saying we're better than these guys. It's compare the difference. You want to compare the differences and who you are best fit for. Like if you look at this table is on our home page. We are not better than the Marketing AI Institute. We love those guys. We don't think we're better than anything here. We just think we're different. We're very different. So we're highlighting the differences. So when you're thinking about doing a comparison table, think about the differences.
It's interesting because a lot of times I know that having conversations with, for example, customers who we help with setting up dashboards to track, for example, content or traffic coming from LLMs and AI agents.
Hmm.
They have similar questions around how can we increase that traffic? And a lot of times I noticed that it's not a general understanding that the LLM, the agent itself, it's not really looking at the site as we are. It's literally looking at the code behind it because it
Right.
prefers structured data, which would be either in HTML. So, like you said, the headings and the correct order and just the right structure of it matters a lot for the agent to understand. Okay, so this is it and that is that on that same site, or JSON format or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which perfect segue into this slide.
perfect.
First time I heard this JSON FAQ schema, I was like, what? What the hell is that? And then now I know clearly what that because I've been working with it a lot. But this is basically, continuing with the metaphor of the cooking, this is kind of like a nutrition label for your content. it tells it AI exactly what your content says and no guessing required. It's basically JavaScript object notation built behind your blog post. Um, to a human, what you see is a frequently asked questions section, which is always good to have inside of any of your posts or any of your pages. Um, but behind that, we also have the JSON. Now, you don't need to know how to do this. You don't even know how to understand it. There's two ways to do it. One, we're going to give you a tool at the end, a free tool you can use that throw your blog post in. It will output the FAQ schema for you. The other way to do it is just throw your blog post into ChatGPT or Gemini and ask it, say, hey, can you give me a JSON FAQ schema? Tell it who you're writing for and how many FAQs you want it to be. It will output the code for you and you can just plug it in. Doesn't matter where you plug it in. We used to plug it in the front of our blog post. Now we're putting it towards the bottom. But as long as it's in there and it's important that your HTML section of this, which is what's visible to humans, matches exactly the JSON. Otherwise, the system will think you're spoofing it by trying to bury more stuff behind the scenes that doesn't exist on the page, and then it won't list you at all.
And David also shared something relevant in chat, where, for example, when on some sites you can see that they create a table with, for example, rows of explanations what the product does, and then check marks or X's on the right-hand side. And that's how we would perceive it. We would understand that, okay, this is good, this is bad potentially for me as a company. But
Mhm.
LLMs are not necessarily going to make that connection between the text that's written and some symbols used on the other side. So we would
Right.
have to be more direct in explaining, is this something that's good or not? So the example you shared earlier, Rick, feels like a better way of explaining the differences so that the user themselves, through the agent, can then make a decision of what's better for them and what isn't.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I never thought of that, but that does make sense. So definitely having qualitative information in the boxes is going to be really helpful um, to the AI. And I think like if you're doing software comparisons, maybe yeses and nos instead of check boxes would, I don't know how that would be interpreted, but that's a good point.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely something to look
Something to
into.
think about. Yeah.
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 But also, Nirvana asked, how should we handle existing blog content? Should we update it to meet the new requirements? I don't know if you are planning getting into that later or
Well, yeah, it's a good question. Existing blog content, you want to measure that. So we're going to give you a little toy, one of my favorite dashboards from Databox at the end, and I would use that to see, it will actually show you which content on your site is getting listed by the LLMs. And if that content is doing well, I wouldn't change it. And also, I would keep in mind too, if you're getting Google traffic to that content, I wouldn't change it. We're in a transition phase. So there's no absolute right here, right? We are talking about how do we get listed by the LLMs, found by the LLMs, because we want to be ready for part of what's here, but part of what's coming. We know that, search traffic is going to it's been dropping, right? Who knows if it's going to stop completely or not? I don't think it ever will, but you got to keep that balance in mind. I wouldn't change existing content that's working well already. However, content that's not getting found by Google and it's not getting found by the LLMs, yeah, I would experiment with that. But first, I would start with new content so you can get familiar with how to create this and get into a rhythm of creating new content because that's what it wants. It already has that information that you that's on your site. So here's another thing. We call this the authority shortcut. Basically, you need to have good citations in your content. You're not going to shortcut any of the SEO rules. Writing for AI, you need to to um, respect the SEO rules that we've all been going by. Start with those. You need good citations. One easy way to do this is just by asking Perplexity, like, what are the most trusted sources for this topic? And Perplexity will actually literally tell you who it trusts. And those are the sites that you should list in your citate in your content, because then it just puts you in the same semantic neighborhood with the experts that it's already trusting, right? We do it a little different in our system. We are using the Perplexity's new search API, which they released for developers to use, so you get instant access to the back end. And we have AI agents look at our content and then give ideas to Perplexity of what it should surface, and then another one just looks at to see if it's relevant and if it fits our parameters of being uh, yeah, a trusted site. All right. So we covered a lot of tactical ground. I'm just going to kind of zoom out right now and look at this blueprint, right, as a stack. And there's five parts to it. I think the most important part is the proprietary knowledge strategy. You have to feed the system unique data, or you're just going to get generic results and no one's going to cite it for you. It's looking for new information, right? And then you need to structure it in the way the fashion we showed, with the direct answer, the TLDR summary, right? All of that helps, and the bulleted lists and the H2s, all of that helps AI understand what it's looking at very quickly. The best fit context, putting tables in, I would say that's not a must. That's an option because we're getting results without that. But I think as we start doing that moving forward, we're going to get better results with that. The JSON FAQ schema, I'd say that's a must. That's an absolute must to do that. It sounds complicated, but with AI, you just ask it to do it for you, and it will do it. And then the authority shortcut is really something we've all been doing anyway, if you've been blogging, right? So you just continue that. What you're going to see, one thing about AI content is I think our posts are typically around maybe 1,200 words. We don't do the long form pillar posts for this particular application. We do some for other reasons, for like um, guides and things like that, where we expect humans to come in and like we have one on a rag systems, how to build a rag system, which is a huge document. But for this type of work, we keep it short.
And on the topic of AI visibility, Rick, Rayan in chat is asking, what kind of tool are you using to track whether you are getting mentioned in the LLMs? What kind of queries are you tracking?
We're using Databox. So we're using a Databox dashboards connected to our Google Analytics. Yeah. Um, and we have Google Console, right? We have those tools. Are we um, are we concerned about exactly what it's mentioning? Now, I mean, there's really no back door. Nobody has a back door to look to see what AI is doing and recommending. It's all guesswork. It's all so any of these systems that are offering to see where you show and how frequently, what they're doing is they're just automating queries, hundreds and thousands of queries, maybe every day or every week on your behalf, and then seeing how you turn up. We don't bother with that. We're more interested in measuring actions being how much work we do and post, and then results, like how much traffic is coming back, right?
Yeah, and I
I'm
know
not
that
saying
you're
you
gonna,
shouldn't, but yeah, we don't use tools for that.
yeah, I know that you're also gonna share a template a bit later where um, companies can use Databox and a template inside Databox to easily look at the traffic they are getting from specific LLMs. But yeah, to your point, not being able to get even more granular visibility to specific keywords and
Yeah.
anything
And
else.
this is all going to evolve like just like SEO evolved over time,
Yeah.
right? So, um, you know, it's it's where we are today. We don't look at that. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily trust anybody has really 100% accurate data on that. So we're not bothering with that, but that could change. So at this point, I wanted to, before we jump into like how to do this, I just want to take a quick poll and get an idea of where everyone is at on blogging frequency. So if you wouldn't mind just jumping in and answering this question. No, then we'll go to the how to do this because that's the hard part.
All right, I can see a couple of people already voted.
Yeah, I can't see I don't know how long you need to keep this open or how many people have already voted on it. Okay. That's going to kind of figured. Um, yeah. So the majority are, well, the mean of the median is like less than four. Yeah. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that people lost over the last couple of years lost faith in blogging for traffic as it was diminishing. So, all right, it's good to know. You're going to be shocked at how many blogs you got to write now, though. So, we talked about how to create specific structured data with rich answers, but now we have to talk about the how and the brutal truth. The math of manual content creation no longer works. Um, to win in AI search, you don't need one perfect article about your product. You need hundreds of specific articles answering every possible nuance of your customer's problems. So if your team is writing 4 blogs a month manually, you're never going to capture that long tail, and you're basically bringing a knife to what I would call a nuclear fight. You need systems that scale, and I think I mean Kip Bodnar said it, the CMO of HubSpot, on one of his podcasts, I think going about 5 months ago. He said the new role of the growth marketer or AI SEO is to build AI-powered systems that will produce really great content at scale that is highly specific. Um, so, I mean, that's shameless plug for our community. That's what we teach in our community. One of the things we teach is how to do stuff at scale and build systems. But at the end, I'm going to give you some tools to use with this. But right now, I'm gonna show you how we do this for ourselves. Okay. So the way we solve this problem is we built something called the AIO system, AI optimization system. It's not a generic AI writer that regurgitates Wikipedia stuff. It's a closed loop system. It takes your unique data, your expertise, and orchestrates it across the best AI models in the world. And so it's like having a team of 10 experts working simultaneously to produce content that's 100% unique to your brand. And I'm going to jump into our system here. And Kelly uses this a few times a week. Kelly is my partner, and she's generating about 30 to 40 blog posts a month with this system. That's driving our traffic. And we looked at it, takes about 10 hours a month to do 30 blog posts. That's currently what it's taking. So this system includes, and I'm not selling the system. It's trying to sell the system. I'm just trying to give you an idea how to do this, right? How we do this. Uh, the system includes 9 LLMs orchestrated together. So we have one writer, 2 fact checkers, we have a researcher, we have an editor, we have a schemer generator, we have an SEO checker, and we have 2 creative directors. So, and it uses Claude, GPT, and um, Perplexity, and different models of each one. But basically, there are 9 LLMs orchestrating together to doing this, and it's simultaneously creating on-brand graphics, right? And they all work together on this. So for here, you're seeing a topic, a query that was put in, and then what it generates. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you can see that it's not just writing, it's coding. So it's generating the HTML, the zero-click snippet, and the metadata automatically. And we have it output in HTML because we're on HubSpot, and that's the best way to put content into a HubSpot blog is just copy and paste the HTML. We have other community members that are on WordPress. It outputs differently and other platforms, and we have some agencies that are using this for their themselves and their clients, and they love it. And then scrolling down a little more, you can see it also outputs the FAQ section, the FAQ schema here. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to sell anybody on the system. I mean, you can do this by creating your own mini routines via GPTs or gems inside of Gemini. And if you look at those 5 pillars, I mean, that's what this is based on that it gave you. If you created one GPT for each pillar, you could just run those GPTs separate and then put it together, and you have the same thing, right? We just like automating the whole thing and orchestrating it so that it works faster. And um, I would say with the guardrails and the human interaction, it's a little safer.
And this is also, I think, connected to one of the questions that Scott asked a bit earlier. You're referring a lot to posts, particularly with respect to JSON. Does this work on pillar pages or outside of the blog posts?
Yes, it does.
Mhm.
We have an agency member, and they use the system to create both pillar pages, and so they're still doing it the I guess the old way we used to do it. We have pillar pages and you have supporting blogs. So they have the system working both ways. It'll create a pillar page, and their pillar page may be 17,000 words, right? And they have a system that creates it, all the citations, the images, and then the part here that you're seeing, it creates these to support the pillar page. So yeah, it'll work on pillar pages too. Yes. Um, we we constantly revamping our static website pages on our site to be more AI friendly, but we also need them to be make sense for humans because that's what they're mostly there for humans, our static pages. Is there
Okay.
anything else on that, Emil?
Not on that, but there's another question by Hannah. So earlier you were mentioning 9 different tools or LLMs that you're using, so writer, researcher, and so on. And I believe you said LLMs. It sounds like these are more agents or specific GPTs, correct?
Um, so the way we do this is we work through the APIs. So Claude, we use Claude for writing,
Mhm.
right? So we have an API connection to Claude. Claude is the LLM. I mean, you would get similar results if the prompt that's going into Claude to write this through the API, if you took that prompt and put it just into the LLM from a web-based, you'd get the same results, right? We have our fact checkers, our GPT, our researcher is Perplexity, Search API. Our editor is a GPT. Our schema generator is a GPT model. And our SEO checker is also GPT. We rely a lot on GPTs because they're just very consistent. And then our 2 creative directors are Gemini. So they create images. And you see here in this slide that um, it says here prompt for images 1 and 2 that came from the first creative director, and then prompt for images 3 and 4 came from the second creative director. And they're instructed to look at each other's prompts and then create something different, but stay on brand.
Mhm.
And that's all connected through the APIs. But again, you get similar results doing it by hand in a web browser. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, Hannah, let us know in chat. But yeah, that's definitely a lot of great insights here.
Okay. And measuring. So what we like to measure, we use Databox um, to measure our results. And these are not real results. This is just a graph, but of what we we like to measure the actions. So the AI optimize, how many AI optimized posts have we generated? And then how much search are we getting back from generative AI search? Right? Another thing we like to measure, this is definitely not our data. We don't know have this much traffic. Organic sessions versus AI sessions, right? See how they're going. This is an example. All right. Um, so we're actually saved my favorite Databox dashboard for last, and it's the one that is being given away today as a free template. But first, I want to jump into some of the free tools I promised. So this is a tool that we created in the lab. It's called the AI Search Optimizer. And if you go here, you can dump your blog post in it, and it will reformat it to make it readable for AI in the format that we just went over here. So it's going to answer the question in the beginning. It is going to give you a summary of the blog post, and it's going to restructure your blog post in a lot of H2s and bullets, and then it'll give you an FAQ schema also. Um, yeah, I think for this, you could input as much as 2,000 words and give it a shot. It's not going to make your blog post get listed by AI unless you have really unique content, and that's an important pillar that this doesn't handle, right? It's just going to really show you how to structure. So it's a good instructional tool to put something in and say, oh, this is how it's structured. Now, it's also going to cut out probably a lot of your content if you're writing long paragraphs in story format. Another one we have that we built inside the lab is what we call AI Scope. And this is going to show you whether AI, in particular, whether Perplexity would recommend your company, or is it going to recommend one of your competitors to your ideal client persona. So you can input a couple of different things here, and then it is going to go through, actually, this one goes through a lot of different LLMs to keep your information anonymous from Perplexity, and then gives it the anonymous stuff to Perplexity and sees who it's going to recommend. Then it also comes back with a comparison of you versus your competitors if you're not the number one recommendation, and a list of citations. So you can actually see why Perplexity may have recommended your competitor instead of you in this particular answer, right? It gives you that list. Plus, as a benefit, when you're on this page, you'll get to be instructed by a very snarky raccoon via video that we created. So he'll tell if you turn the sound on, you get a kick out of the raccoon. We like to have fun with some of these things. Why not put a raccoon in the A of AI? Why not have a raccoon tell you how to do something? Just this tool you've probably already used or seen. This is HubSpot's. I really think this is a great tool right now. Um, we use it, so I recommend you use it. You can give you a good idea. I showed you part of the report result in the beginning of what this can show you. It can show you how many times you've been mentioned in AI. I'm not sure how they're doing that, uh, but it's a nice tool to keep track of how you're doing. I think, even if the details aren't 100% accurate, at least the trend will be over time if you run it today and then you run it another week from now and then keep running it, you'll see how you're improving or not. All right. I'm gonna kick it over to you, Emil.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. A lot of great insights here. And this is a template that we're offering here in Databox where it's a free template for anyone signing up, obviously, and it can help answer questions like how is AI traffic trending over time, or what LLMs are producing most traffic. And you can then also use this to measure, for example, conversion rates from sign up, from session to sign up, or potentially also sign up to paid, and really go deeper into the funnel and see what the quality of those signups or sessions in the first place, depending on what your outcome is, has been, and which landing pages attract the most AI search visitors.
That's my favorite part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we use this, and um, the landing page part is really important to us because it
Mhm.
shows us which ones are resonating with AI.
Yeah.
And even like so the one that gets the most views is our page on how to build a RAG system, which is it's a huge page on maybe 20,000 words or something like that. However, it gets the most views as an individual page, but what we like to see is we're trying to build for that long tail of queries. So we see all the other pages starting to show up with, maybe two, three, five, 10 visits, right? And they add up to a far greater number than that page. So it's great to be able to see that, like, okay, we wrote these posts. Are they actually getting anything, right?
Exactly. It's important because it also shows that um, you don't necessarily have to write short posts. It's the relevancy that matters most to LLMs so that they actually capture your posts, your pages, when serving answers to the user. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense why landing pages would be a great insight to see which ones are actually coming from AI.
Yeah. And this is easy to set up. I think it's like one click basically
Mm,
connected to Google.
yeah.
Works really well.
So anyone can scan this. You can also just sign up to Databox and search for templates there. You can just type in AI into the search bar and you're gonna find this template. And obviously you can also let our team know if you'll need any additional assistance or would want to expand on this, because obviously that's just a starting template. You can dive deeper than just that. Um, we have a couple of questions coming in, but we can cover them here in a second. Um,
Sure.
Rick, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so we offer a free blueprint consultation. Um, we know that we started the AI Marketing Automation Lab community to help marketing professionals. Kelly and I have been marketing professionals for 20 years, and we wanted to help them like figure out how to adopt AI, how to bring it into their systems, what not to do is just as important as like what to do. So we see a lot of people like, struggling with like, well, what should we do first? Is AI going to replace me? How do I use it? And just everybody's getting tips for this and that and different prompts. Um, so we offer this blueprint consultation where I'll take 30 minutes and work with you just to learn about your business, where you're at, and then help you identify a clear path. Like, what is the first place you should start? Because we've done this a lot now. Where's your highest ROI opportunity to bring AI into your organization, and help you kind of like just get a basic general architecture of that. So it's not a sales call. It's actually a working call. So if you would like that, if you're interested in that, just scan that or click that link and fill out the form, and we'll schedule something.
Awesome. And we might not be able to get to every single question that was not answered in the chat, but obviously this is where you can reach out to Rick and his team to help get more answers and also um, start talking a bit more about potential implementations or solutions that you'll be looking for.
Yeah. So what were the questions that any questions we didn't get to?
There's a couple of them that we can definitely cover. Rayan asked, have you been able to track Google AI overviews as well, which I believe works a little differently than the traditional LLMs?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of traffic. Most of our traffic is coming from Google search. Um, I I am making the assumption that the majority of that is from Google AI overviews, right?
Mhm.
I have no way of specifically measuring that that I know of. is it coming from that or not? But this, so you realize it's Google is using Gemini, right? That's their platform. So we're optimizing for Gemini. So we're basically optimizing for Google at the same time.
Yeah.
So I believe we're getting those results, but I can't say specifically how I know that. I just think
Yeah.
because everything's AI overview, pretty much.
And especially with Google and people adopting Google for or using it for a long time, this is where I think it makes sense that a lot of traffic still comes from that as opposed to people going directly into the LLM search engines and instead just using Google with now Google using that AI overview panel at the top.
Yeah, yeah. And Google's AI tools are incredible right now. Gemini 3, Nano Banana Pro. It's just Notebook LM. Um, these are awesome products.
Yeah. It's just going to continue. And we have time for one or two more questions. Naomi is asking why so going back to the conversation of setting up the different tools, LLMs
Mhm.
behind them, why so many different LLMs? Is it a pricing game, so not wanting to run up against usage limits, or is it more about the different capabilities that the different LLMs are best at?
It's more about the different capabilities, and it's more about keeping each one focused on a specific task. Like when we build these workflows and connecting different LLMs together, we give each one its own task. We don't want, so we tell it, okay, you're an expert writer in this particular genre, and we want you to write on this. And then we give it a 17,000 word document to draw from, right? And stay focused on a document. We only want it to have that context and that focus when it's doing it. Then it passes it off to a researcher that says, okay, look at what was written here, find some claims that were made in this, and now give those claims to Perplexity to go and find citations. Then we have it pass it off to another one, and we ask it, look at these citations. Are these valid? So we're kind of just like breaking it down to like what would a human do or two or three humans do, right? You're even though you're maybe one person, you would do still do these type of tasks. So we're just breaking it and giving it to each LLM. And in a lot of cases, it may be the same LLM and the same model. It's just a different context. It's a new context window. So they're clear of the previous, they don't have to deal with the fact that the, the previous LLM had a 20,000 word document stuck in its context window.
Right, exactly. That's it's extremely relevant that also adds a lot of, I think, understanding behind some of the decisions that you've made to set up some of those solutions, really. And I think we have time for one last question. Jim is asking, Rick, can agencies use AI marketing labs for content generation for all of their clients?
Um, yeah, well, we have several agencies in our lab, so there's a couple of ways to do it. One is we've the agencies that are in our lab get access to if you're a member of a lab, you get these tools for free. It's part of the membership, right? They're templates that you set up. We teach you how to set them up, and then you can use them. So we have a couple agencies that are doing that. We've also had agencies that we built this for, right? And then we train them to how to use it. So we can come in and build these systems, and then you own the system, right? And we teach you how to use it. Yeah, and you can get it customized to exactly how you operate.
That's awesome. And Jim is also saying gracias, so
Okay.
I think you answered his question. Perfect.
And then because I love AI's visual capabilities, we created this little infographic from the slide deck. So it shows the old playbook. So if you need to show this isn't if you need to show your teammates like, okay, here's the old playbook and here's the new playbook, here's an infographic that helps do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And obviously everyone can also use it after we're gonna send an email to everyone with resources, including also to this deck and all the QR codes and links included in it.
Yeah.
Awesome. We are approaching time here, so we're gonna wrap. Thank you again, everyone, for the thoughtful questions. I think that we covered a lot here. Anything you wanted to say, Rick, before we wrap up?
Um, oh, thank you for sticking this out. And if you're interested in the lab, just reach out to me. We
Yeah.
could talk about it, see if it's a good fit for you. It is designed for marketing professionals, like everybody here. So people coming into, I just want to, anybody who's come into our lab has not been a developer. It's just all marketing professionals wanting to understand how to use AI in a more systematic or orchestrated way.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you, Emil.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely make sure to connect with Rick and his team. There's definitely a lot of insights here that were covered today. We'll also make sure to share the recording with everyone afterwards. And Rick, I feel we should do this more often since it's obviously a very important and timely topic. And I'm sure that there might be also a bit more interest to talk about this, maybe focus on specific individual things and good practices there. So we can definitely stay in touch regarding that.
Yeah, I
Thank you
would
so
love that.
much. Thank you so much again, Rick, for
Uh,
presenting, for preparing all of this. I really appreciate you taking the time for this. And thanks again, everyone, for your questions. And hopefully, we'll see you soon then on the next one.
okay. Thank you, Emil.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.